Lok Sabha approves Union Budget 2014-15. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley comes down heavily on retrospective taxation, says it destabilized business. Also says series of steps needed to check inflation and promote growth. MH17 crash fallout. Air India global carriers to shun Ukrainian airspace after Malaysian airliners was allegedly shot in eastern Ukrainian city. Markets end in green but remain under pressure as geopolitical tensions rise on back of the Malaysian airliner crash. Sensex gains 80 points. IT stocks lead the up move. And Union Finance Minister Arun Jaitley tables Delhi budget in Lok Sabha, announces subsidy to small electricity consumers in Delhi. No new taxes proposed. Multi-speciality hospital and 50 dialysis center to be opened. Well, hello and welcome to Business Wrap. I'm Sidhant, Sibal, and let's begin with the top business story of the day. The lower house of the parliament has passed the Union Budget 2014-15, the first budget of the new government. Replying to the budget debate in the Lok Sabha, Finance Minister Arun Jaitley emphasized that politicians must rise above party politics to bring back the economy back to high growth trajectory.
The Lok Sabha has passed the Union Budget 2014-15. The budget was passed after Finance Minister Arun Jaitley replied on the budget debate. Coming down heavily on retrospective taxation, Finance Minister, while speaking in the Parliament, said that it destabilized businesses.
As far as taxation is concerned, we've said there will be no retrospective tax as far as the future is concerned. We've given a cushion that we won't tax people retrospectively, creating fresh liabilities. We are trying to create an environment where GST can be enabled in this country.
Finance Minister said that shoots of recovery are visible in the economy, but it's too early to conclude anything.
On the external sector, some improvement is visible. In capital inflows, there is a significant improvement which is visible. But as I said, it's too early to assume that this is a trend. This is only the first sign.
He said that last 2 years haven't been good for the economy and this had negative impact on tax collection.
We have in the last 2 years suddenly seen a dip in our growth rates. 2 years ago we grew only by 4.5%. Last year we have grown, our GDP has grown by 4.7%. This has had an adverse impact on our economy. If the economy doesn't grow, tax buoyancy doesn't pick up. The tax GDP ratio doesn't grow.
Finance Minister said that series of steps are still needed to be taken to check inflation and promote growth. He said that budget only gave a broad direction. Last week, the first budget of the new government was placed in the parliament. Business Desk, DD News.
Well, proposing no new taxes in budget for Delhi, Union Finance Minister Arun Jaitley today announced subsidy of 80 paise to 1 rupee and 20 paise per unit to small power consumers. Government has announced subsidy for Delhi residents consuming electricity up to 400 units. Those using units up to 200 will get subsidy at rate of 1 rupee and 20 paise per unit, while it will be 80 paise for consumption between 201 to 400 units. The government has earmarked 260 crore rupees for power subsidy. Finance Minister also announced a slew of measures like low-floor buses, sanitation and multi-speciality hospital in Rohini. Also, 4 new sewage treatment plants have been planned for Delhi. The 36,776 crore rupee budget for Delhi was presented in the parliament as the state is currently under the president's rule. Well, Indian carriers Air India and Jet Airways will avoid the airspace of war-torn eastern Ukraine following a directive issued to them by the DGCA in the wake of alleged shooting down of a Malaysian airliner in which all 295 people on board were killed on Thursday. The aviation regulator DGCA issued instructions to Air India and Jet Airways, the only two Indian carriers that fly to Europe and North America, to avoid Ukrainian airspace while flying to and from destinations in both the continents. Several international airlines have also rerouted flights around eastern Ukrainian airspace after a Malaysian airliner jet was crashed in eastern Ukraine. At least 5 airlines, Lufthansa, British Airways, Air France, Turkish Airways and Russian airline Trans-Aero, said that they would avoid airspace over eastern Ukraine in the wake of the incident. In April, European and American aviation officials warned commercial airlines about the risk of flying over Ukraine's Crimea Peninsula in the midst of dispute between Ukraine and Russia. Well, now on to the stock market action. The markets began the session in red but ended in green today, held by gains in technology shares. Sensex gained 80 points to end at 25,642 levels, while NSE Nifty gained 23 points to end at 7664. However, gains were limited as the global markets remained under pressure after the crash of Malaysian airliner at the Ukrainian-Russian border. New sanctions on Moscow and unrest in Gaza sent investors scurrying into defensive assets. Among the 30-share Sensex pack, 16 stocks gained and rest of them declined. IT stocks were in demand as good Q1 earnings from TCS boosted the sentiment. Weakness in rupee also boosted the IT stocks. Gainers on the chart were Hero Motocorp, TCS, Axis Bank, ICICI Bank and Wipro, which were up by between 2 to 1%. Losers on the chart were Tata Power, Hindalco, BHEL, Maruti Suzuki and GAIL India, which were down by between 2 to 1%. The market breadth indicating the overall health of the market was negative. Well, now on to global market action. Most Asian stocks edged lower today as rising geopolitical tensions after news on Thursday of a Malaysian airline jet crashing at the Ukraine-Russia border. Key benchmark indices in Hong Kong, Taiwan, Japan and South Korea fell by between 0.07% to 1.01%. Key benchmark indices in Singapore, China and Indonesia rose by between 0.03% to 0.21%. Shares of Malaysian Airlines fell more than 11% on Friday. It is the second such disaster the airline has experienced in this year. Flight MH370 disappeared en route from Malaysia to China in April and still has not been found out. Shares of other global airlines also skid. Thai Airways was down 0.69%, Cathay Pacific was down 0.69%, China Eastern Airline fell 1.63% and China Southern Airline was down 0.41%. Well, on to European stock market action. Well, European stocks edged lower today, tracking weakness in the Asian stocks. Russian market plunged today after a Malaysian airliner was shot down over Ukraine and Israeli troops moved into Gaza. Key benchmark indices in France, Germany and UK shed by between 0.07% to 0.61%. Well, here is the roundup of all the market action throughout this week.
The market started the week with losses. Sensex closed 17 points down at 25,007 levels, just 7 points above the crucial 25,000 levels. Nifty ended below the 7,500 levels too. Good news on inflation front didn't manage to cheer the markets up. June wholesale inflation eased to 4-month low of 5.43% on account of decline in the prices of food items and vegetables. The market recovered on Tuesday. The Sensex gained 222 points to end at 25,228 levels, while Nifty gained 73 points to end at 7526. Wednesday, the markets marked its second day of gains. Sensex gained 321 points to end at 25,550 levels. Nifty gained 98 points, just 2 points short of a century, to end at 7624. The market sentiment was positive after the RBI on Tuesday announced incentives to raise long-term bonds for infrastructure financing, and after the latest data showed a decent growth in exports in June 2014. Firmness in European stocks also boosted sentiments on the domestic bourses. Thursday, the markets ended flat. Sensex gained 11 points to end at 25,561 levels. NSE Nifty ended 16 points up at 7640. Metal stocks shine. And finally, on the last day of the week, markets started on a cautious note, tracking weak cues from Asian markets, which were trading lower on the news of the crash of the Malaysian airline jet at the Ukraine-Russia border. Markets later recovered and by midday was trading in green. Business Bureau, DD News.
Well, news just in that DGCA, the Directorate of Foreign Trade, has joined Twitter. Its Twitter handle is @DGFT India. Remember, more and more government departments are joining Twitter and Facebook so that they can increase their interaction with the masses. On that note, time for a short break. More after this break.
10,000 इन्वेस्ट करो, 6 महीने के बाद 20,000। अच्छा, जितना डालो उतना डबल। डबल? हाँ, मिस्टर कुमार है ना, उन्होंने भी इन्वेस्ट किया।
कुमार सर है ना, उन्होंने भी इन्वेस्ट किया था। आज की डेट में उनके पास क्या नहीं है?
अरे मिस्टर कुमार कौन है?
कुमार
कहीं सुनी पर यकीन न करें। पैसे इन्वेस्ट करने से पहले खुद जांचिए, परखिए, फिर इन्वेस्ट कीजिए। सेबी, हर इन्वेस्टर की ताकत।
अरे कमाल हो गया भैया, साथ साथ हमारी शादी हुई और साथ साथ हम बाप भी बन गए। भैया मैं तो अपने बच्चे की खुशी में लड्डू बंटवाऊंगा, 12 पत्थरों को छू कर आऊंगा। तुम भी चलो मेरे।
अरे नहीं भाई, मैं तो सबसे पहले उसका जन्म पंजीकरण करवाऊंगा, यही उसका सबसे पहला परिचय होगा। भाई पंजीयन अधिकारी द्वारा जन्म और जन्मस्थान 21 दिन के अंदर अंदर जन भाई खाते में दर्ज करवानी चाहिए, जिसका प्रमाण पत्र भी बिल्कुल मुफ्त मिलता है। भैया मैं तो चला।
जन्म बही खाते में बच्चे का नाम, जन्मदिन एवं जन्मस्थान सुनिश्चित करें।
महात्मा गांधी नरेगा में काम किए हुए अभी 15 दिन भी पूरे नहीं हुए और मजदूरी मिल गई।
अच्छा एक बात बता, तुझे कैसे पता 15 दिन पूरे नहीं हुए?
अरे इसके लिए ये जॉब कार्ड जो है।
और अगर 15 दिन के बाद भी भुगतान ना हो तब?
काम पूरा होने की तारीख से 15 दिन के अंदर मजदूरी का भुगतान न हो तो मजदूरी के साथ साथ नियम के मुताबिक मुआवजा भी मिलता है। महात्मा गांधी नरेगा, हक ग्रामीण का, विकास गांव का।
Welcome back. In a surprise move, Google's Chief Business Officer, India-born Nikesh Arora, regarded as the top lieutenant at the internet search giant, is leaving the company almost after 10 years. So what are the other big news of the week? Here is a roundup.
As always, lots of things happened this week. Good news on inflation front. June wholesale inflation eased to 4-month low at 5.43% on account of decline in the prices of food items and vegetables. Setback to Reliance Industries. Government slapped a penalty on RIL for lagging in the KG-D6 basin output. The AC Superfast Sri Shakti Express train service from New Delhi to Katra, the base camp for pilgrims visiting the Mata Vaishno Devi shrine, starts its first journey. Tuesday, India and China win a crucial victory over the US. WTO rules against US tariff on Chinese and Indian goods. Market regulator SEBI bars Satyam founder B. Ramalinga Raju and 4 others from markets. SEBI barred B. Ramalinga Raju, founder and the former chairman of Satyam Computer Services, from the market for 14 years for its role in one of the biggest corporate frauds in the country. Wednesday, good news continues for the Indian economy. Exports rise 10% in June, but record gold imports drive trade deficit to 11-month high. BRICS launched the new development bank to reduce total dependence on World Bank and IMF. The bank to have its headquarters in Shanghai. First president of the bank will come from India. Chinese economy back on track. Well, the Chinese economy, which is the world's second largest economy, expanded 7.5% in the April to June quarter. Thursday, monsoon covers the entire country, says the Met Department. deficit in monsoon rains also expected to narrow next week. DERC approves power tariff hike by 8.32% for 3 power discoms across Delhi, 9.52% in areas under NDMC. TCS, the country's largest IT service exporter, reported a profit after tax or PAT of 5,058 crore rupees versus 5,297 crore rupees, down 4.5% quarter-on-quarter. The revenue came at 22,101 crore rupees versus 21,551 crore rupees, up 2.6% quarter-on-quarter. And finally, Friday, the last day of the week, most Asian shares saw a fall on Friday after a Malaysian airline jet carrying 298 people crashed in eastern Ukraine on a flight from Amsterdam to Kuala Lumpur. Malaysia Airlines said that flight MS-17 was carrying a total of 298 people with 283 passengers, including 3 infants and 15 crew. Business Bureau, DD News.
Well, the Institute of Directors organized the 16th World Congress on Environment Management in New Delhi earlier this week. The theme of the Congress was Environmental Sustainability through Green Growth Solutions and has been organized in collaboration with the World Environment Foundation. Golden Peacock Award, which was regarded as a benchmark of corporate excellence, were given to the winners during the event. Here's a report.
Mainstreaming the green growth solutions through market-based strategy and CSR strategy for environmental protection have been the highlights of the 16th World Congress on Environment Management. In a program where business leaders participated and opined on environmental sustainability and discussed on various topics like transitioning through green economy, many people had the opportunity for networking and brainstorming with various environmental professionals and sustainability experts. How should business in India and in other parts of the world respond to the environmental challenges and opportunities has been addressed by the speakers during the program. Another most important highlight of the event was the prestigious Golden Peacock Awards. Golden Peacock Awards have the history of 23 years and are given by the Institute of Directors. These awards are given to the organizations from diversified fields which exhibit corporate excellence globally. In the recent past, these awards by IOD have emerged as one of the prestigious corporate recognitions. And this time, Golden Peacock Awards for Environmental Management, Occupational Health and Safety have been given to many firms across India which displayed effective initiatives in the environment management and eco-innovation areas. The two-day event also presented the case studies on environment management, occupational health and safety. On the whole, the 16th Congress was successful in discussing the corporate environment strategy for the future. With Jaya Sinha's inputs, Venkat Raman's report, DD News.
Well, companies that nursed ambition of entering the banking arena but were left out in cold in April have a chance to make a grab for a new set of license. The RBI has come out with a new draft guidelines for new small banks and payment banks. The central bank has sought views and comments on the draft guidelines from all the interested parties and general public. So how will it impact the banking sector? Let's find out.
A good news for those companies which could not get banking licenses earlier this year. Companies that nursed ambitions of entering the banking arena but were left out in the cold in April have a chance to make a grab for a new set of licenses for which the Reserve Bank of India put out draft guidelines. The banking regulator opened the doors a little wider by unveiling the rules of the game for two new categories of payment banks and small banks in the private sector with a minimum capital requirement of 100 crore rupees. The central bank also issued draft guidelines for setting up of payment banks which will cater to marginalized sections of society including migrant laborers, for collecting deposits and remitting funds. However, the central bank asked for the feedback from all the interested parties. Final guidelines will be issued and the process of inviting applications for setting up of payment banks and small banks will be initiated after receiving the feedback, comments and suggestions on the draft guidelines. According to the RBI, both payment banks and small banks are niche or differentiated banks with the common objective of furthering financial inclusion. While small banks will provide a whole suite of basic banking products such as deposits and supply of credit but in a limited area of operation, payment banks will provide a limited range of products such as acceptance of demand deposits and remittances of funds, but will have a widespread network of access points, particularly to remote areas. The entity eligible to set up a payments bank include existing non-bank prepaid instrument issuers, non-banking finance companies, corporate BCs, mobile telephone companies, supermarket chains, companies, real sector cooperatives and public sector entities. Business Desk, DD News.
Well, time for a short break. More after this break.
10,000 इन्वेस्ट करो 6 महीने के बाद 20,000 अच्छा जितना डालो उतना डबल डबल मिस्टर कुमार है ना उन्होंने भी इन्वेस्ट किया
कुमार सर है ना उन्होंने भी इन्वेस्ट किया था आज की डेट में उनके पास क्या नहीं है
फिर मिस्टर कुमार कौन है
कुमार
कहीं सुनी पर यकीन न करें पैसे इन्वेस्ट करने से पहले खुद जांचिए परखिए फिर इन्वेस्ट कीजिए सेबी हर इन्वेस्टर की ताकत
पहले यहाँ कोई काम नहीं मिलता था। महात्मा गांधी नरेगा ने यहाँ काम शुरू करवाया। महात्मा गांधी नरेगा ने हमारे परिवार को हर साल 100 दिन रोजगार की गारंटी दी है। महात्मा गांधी नरेगा में काम करने के बाद 15 दिन में मजूरी मिल जाती है। अब मजूरी के लिए शहर नहीं जाना पड़ता, गांव में ही काम करते हैं, बच्चों के साथ रहते हैं घर में।
महात्मा गांधी नरेगा साल 2012-13 में करीब 5 करोड़ परिवारों को रोजगार दिया गया।
समय पे काम, हाथों हाथ दाम।
किरण, हैप्पी बर्थडे। हमारा घर।
हैप्पी बर्थडे मम्मा।
तुम्हें कैसे पता?
रोज बोलती थी ना, हमारा घर हमारा घर।
SBI होम लोन्स में हम भी पढ़ लेते हैं आपके मन की बात, इसलिए हमने इंटरेस्ट रेट्स किए हैं कम, खासकर महिलाओं के लिए। SBI होम लोन्स।
Welcome back. Let's talk about the infrastructure sector. With the Modi government promising a slew of funds and schemes to boost infrastructure development in the budget announced last week, activity appears to be picking up in the sector once again. At the country's infrastructure companies, the CEOs are back to the drawing board, outlining their fundraising plans and hiring plans. Here's a report.
India's infrastructure sector has received a multi-year boost from the latest budget. The new government has made it clear to drive forward a long-term capital investment cycle. The Modi government's first budget has offered incentives to kickstart the infrastructure sector that almost ground to a halt over the last 3 years. The government has proposed to set up an institution with an initial corpus of Rs 500 crore to provide support to public-private partnerships. Also, it proposes to change the lending norms for the sector. The government has launched a rash of new projects, including 16 new ports and rail infrastructure to connect the ports. Despite these positive steps, several roadblocks are there. Infrastructure projects worth billions of dollars are stuck due to delayed environment clearances and problems with land acquisitions. Experts say the government's top focus should be to revive these stalled projects that are weighing on the finances of the companies. Experts also say getting the projects rolling will require close coordination with the state governments because issues related to land acquisition can be resolved only with the help of the state. They also add that timely implementation of the proposals announced in the budget will be the key to deciding whether the sector reaps the benefits of the proposals or not. Availability of long-term funds for investing in infrastructure also continues to be a challenge. RBI, in order to encourage infrastructure development, exempted long-term bonds from mandatory regulatory norms such as CRR and SLR. Apart from funding, another big problem is Land Acquisition Act, which needs to be amended. The new infrastructure drive over the longer term will be positive for steel, cement and capital goods. Buoyed by the government's big push for the infrastructure, companies expect growth to resume by the end of the year. Business Bureau, DT News.
Well, Asia's second quarter earnings season kicks off next week with numbers from giants like South Korea's Hyundai Motors. Indonesia will meanwhile announce official presidential election results. Let's check out what we can expect in the Asian region in the world of business.
Asian companies are gearing up to stir their stuff as the second quarter earnings season kicks off. South Korea's top automaker Hyundai Motors is expected to announce its quarterly results. In the first quarter, the firm posted its lowest profit in over a year due to stronger won currency. It hasn't been a smooth ride for Hyundai, with recalls in the US last year followed by unimpressive sales and a management shake-up. Still, the street is bullish on the company's prospects. Now moving on to China, where second quarter GDP figures seems to show the economy humming along nicely for now. But what's the outlook for the manufacturing sector? In the June, factory activity expanded for the first time in 6 months thanks to a jump in new orders. Now moving on to Indonesia, where a new president is expected to be elected officially on Tuesday, July 22nd. President for the next 5 years is Joko Widodo, the former Jakarta governor who gained popularity in the part to his squeaky clean image and pledged to crack down on corruption and red tape. His challenger is ex-general Prabowo Subianto, who's billed himself as tough leader in Indonesia, which needs to prosper. It's the first time since the country's independence that an election has been so close, but the markets have already bursted out the party hats in anticipation. Last but not the least, Japan releases June inflation data on Friday. In May, core consumer prices rose at their fastest pace in over 30 years, boosted by a national sales tax hike. The country's central bank has pledged to lift Japan out of its deflationary rate and push consumer price inflation towards 2% by the next year. Business Bureau, DD News.
Well, back home, Fertilizer Minister Anant Kumar has said that the government is exploring the possibility of setting up more petrochemicals hubs in the country. Kumar added that petrochemical sector can play a decisive role in employment generation. The minister was speaking at the 4th National Awards for Technology Innovation in Petrochemical and Downstream Plastics Processing Industry. Well, that's all in this edition of Business Wrap. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.